Hello guys and welcome back to the F1 Tube YouTube channel, and my words, Formula 1 strikes back again. After the controversy of yesterday, F1 delivered another phenomenal race. It's like the 6th brilliant race in a row. F1, ever since the boredom that was the French Grand Prix, has just been unbelievable. Firstly, let's have a look at the race results, and Charles Leclerc has delivered Ferrari's first Italian Grand Prix victory, or home victory, since Fernando Alonso achieved that in 2010. Valtteri Bottas was right behind Leclerc in second, with Hamilton rounding out the podium. We have the two Renaults of Danny Ric and Nico Hülkenberg in 4th and 5th. What a day for them. And rounding out the top 10, we have Alex Albon in 6th, Perez from the rear of the grid to 7th, Verstappen in 8th, who also did a very good comeback drive, with Giovinazzi, his best F1 finish, in 9th at his home events, and another guy who started at the rear of the grid and came back into the points was Lando Norris. Looking at the bottom half of the race results, we have Gasly in 11th, Stroll in 12th, Sebastian Vettel in 13th, we will come on to him, George Russell in 14th, then the rest of the finishers, Raikkonen, Grosjean and Kubica, and your retirements, Magnussen, Kvyat and Sainz. So like I said, Charles Leclerc, a Ferrari winner for the Italian Grand Prix, the first Ferrari Italian Grand Prix winner since Fernando Alonso in 2010, and what a masterclass of a defensive drive that was. Yes, he was a bit naughty twice with Hamilton, squeezing him onto the grass, and that was pretty much over aggressive, and he did cut the chicane into turn 1, but it's good to see that the stewards are trying to be lenient to see this close racing. And Leclerc, yes, he was pushing his luck, but at the end of the day, he delivered the result under the most intense pressure. Valtteri Bottas unleashed an attack at the end of the race, but Leclerc held his nerve. Sebastian Vettel, P13. He made another mistake, and in my opinion, this was the worst mistake of the lot he's made in the past 18 months. Spinning at the Ascari chicane after dropping down to 5th, coming back to 4th, trying to mount a challenge on Valtteri Bottas. He spun at the Ascari chicane, and trying to get his Ferrari going again, he collided with Lance Stroll, and that was, I don't care what anyone says, that was pathetic driving. Yes, I know that does sound harsh on him, but I've been really lenient on him in the past few races on my race reviews, and I'm getting to the boiling point now. Yes, I know he doesn't know where the cars are, but that's the thing, he was really dangerous there, Seb Vettel, and I do not expect that from a 4-time world champion and a driver of Seb's quality. 4 podiums in 2 races where Mercedes look to be vulnerable. I think it's a very decent run for them. Obviously, they didn't win today's race, but they gave it a real good go. I do think Mercedes were a bit over-ambitious with Hamilton's strategy. I do believe the hard tyre was the right way to go, but they went for a strategy to go for the lead of the race, and that's exactly what they did with Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton was not necessarily hard done by, but was played around a little bit, which, yeah, it was pretty much over-aggressive from Leclerc, but like I say, it's good to see the stewards are not trying to get in the middle of this. And with about 15 laps to go, Hamilton locked up into turn 1, conceded 2nd position. He pitted near the end of the race, went for the fastest lap, got fastest lap. So not a bad day for Hamilton, but I do think he could have done better. Valtteri Bottas, his strategy seemed to pay off, especially considering he was in 2nd place and was looking really ominous to mount a challenge for the win. But the issue with Valtteri, he's not decisive enough in my opinion. Yes, the tyres probably wouldn't have been at their peak, but he had a lot more in his tyres, I believe. But at the end of the day, he's defeated Lewis Hamilton, so he couldn't have been that bad. Renault have had their best race since returning to the sport as a team since 2016. Around a power circuit, 4th and 5th. My goodness, what a race. Hülkenberg got up to P4 at the start, but he dropped back a little. Ricciardo got past him after Vettel got past him, and Ricciardo did have the edge over Hülkenberg, but the 15-second gap I don't think was justified, as Ricciardo did pit under the VSC, but I don't think that really matters to Renault. A fantastic weekend for the Enstone team. Red Bull had a meh day. It could have been better. Alex Albon was kind of bullied by Carlos Sainz as Sainz forced him off the road on the exit of the first Lesmo. Albon, by the way, was going for a very audacious move, but it could have been such a spectacular move if he made it stick going into the 2nd chicane. He also got a time penalty for overtaking K-Mag and cutting the chicane at the same time. I can't really disagree with it because he overtook him off the track. But Albon definitely does look feisty. Verstappen, great comeback. After having to pit for a new front wing at the end of lap 1, he made a fantastic comeback. Yes, he didn't overtake Perez at the end, but still some decent points at the end. Perez, brilliant drive. Absolutely brilliant. My driver of the day does go to Charles Leclerc, but Perez, Ricciardo, those drivers definitely have a say in it. The rear of the grid to P7. Yes, he did get a bit fortunate with all the chaos ensuing, but he did really well. And to fend off Max Verstappen, he did a stellar job. Lance Stroll, very, very unlucky. Into the top 7 at the start, I believe, but then after Vettel's moment of lunacy, he got taken out. Stroll isn't completely blameless in the second incident where he forced Gasly off-road, but he was already in the middle of the track, but still. A drive-through penalty for Stroll, I think, is justified, but he was really unlucky in that situation for Vettel to take him out because it could have been a very solid day for the Canadian. Alfa Romeo mucked up massively. Kimi starts from the pit lane and they put him on the wrong set of tyres to start him for the race. They get a penalty for it. His race is ruined. Gio, best result in F1. I'm thrilled for him. 9th place. Brilliant result at his home event. The car wasn't superb, but he managed everything very well. Well done to Lando Norris. Rear of the grid to P10. Quietly went about his business. Carlos Sainz was very unlucky, running about 6th or 7th until he had that pit stop issue where his tyre wasn't correctly fitted onto the car, so very unfortunate for the Spaniards, but a decent weekend in terms of his performance nonetheless. Toro Rosso should have scored points today. Gasly was compromised after Lance Stroll almost hit him, so Gasly had to take evasive action, and Daniil Kvyat, whilst running in the top 10, had to retire with an engine failure straight after he came out of the pits. Haas, well, their race car is just rubbish. At the end of the day, they're not competitive enough, and despite K-Mag's best efforts, he just had nothing to show for it, and neither did Rogro. And of course, rounded out the grid, Williams. Kubica actually got a very good start, but his pace was anything but good. Russell completely dominated him in the end. Let's have a look at the drivers' standings. I'm not even going to mention Mercedes. There's no point. They're dominant. Verstappen, 3rd, just ahead of Leclerc, who jumps Vettel into 4th. Is this the changing of the guard at Ferrari? On recent form, it should be. Vettel 5th, Gasly 6th, Sainz 7th. Ricciardo jumps up to 8th after a brilliant weekend. Albon 9th and Kvyat 10th. And in the constructors' standings, you don't need to say anything else about Mercedes, just so dominant in 2019. Ferrari 2nd, Red Bull 3rd and McLaren 4th. Renault jump up to 5th. Brilliant weekend. I don't need to say anything else. Toro Rosso 6th, Racing Point 7th, Alfa 8th, Haas 9th. I think they're confirmed to be 9th, and Williams are even more confirmed to be 10th. Just a few more words on the Vettel-Stroll incident. Vettel obviously picked up a 10-second stop-go penalty, which is the closest penalty to a disqualification. I've heard people say, oh yeah, the car isn't suited to Vettel, but Vettel is a 4-time world champion. These mistakes are inexcusable. End of. Okay, I'll let him off for the mistake at Ascari initially, just losing the rear end, but the collision with Stroll, that is ridiculously pathetic, and he'd be lucky not to receive a grid penalty at Singapore. I cannot express how disgusted I am at Vettel. It was a moment of utter lunacy. Lance Stroll, well, he kind of did the same thing, but it was nowhere near as bad. He was already, on the track basically, and he tried to turn his racing point, but obviously he probably shouldn't have done that. Well, he shouldn't have done it. He should have let the pack go past him. So I just agree with both the penalties awarded. Like I said earlier, Leclerc, driver of the day, absorbed the most intense pressure from both Mercedes drivers and delivered an emphatic win for a rapturous Tifosi crowd. You could honestly see their ecstasy as Leclerc came in for his in-lap. Honestly, you could feel the emotion. I'm not a Ferrari fan, but you just look at that crowd and it means so much to them. Yes, he was a little naughty. Yes, that Ferrari had immense straight line speed, but the car, I don't think, in terms of race pace, was as good as the Mercedes, but Leclerc did everything he needed to do, and yes, he did push the boundaries, but I think you can let him off. But guys, that is it for today's video. Please like this video, comment down below what you thought of the race and this review, and please subscribe to the F1 Tube YouTube channel, and until next time guys, see you later.